Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramhansa Yogananda. Chapter 1: My Parents and Early Life. The defining features of Indian culture have long been a quest for ultimate truths and the accompanying disciple-guru relationship. My own path led me to a Christ-like sage whose beautiful life was sculpted for the ages. He was one of the great masters who remain India's true enduring wealth. Emerging in every generation, they have safeguarded their land against the tragic fates that befell Babylon and Egypt. I find my earliest memories reaching back into the unmistakable features of a previous incarnation. Clear recollections came to me of a distant life as a yogi amidst the Himalayan snows. Through an extraordinary dimensionless connection, these glimpses of the past also afforded me a window into the future. The helpless humiliations of infancy are far from erased from my mind. I was resentfully aware of being unable to walk or express myself freely. Surges of prayer arose within me as I came to terms with my physical helplessness. My intense emotional life found silent form as words in many languages. Amidst this inner confusion of tongues, my ear gradually grew accustomed to the surrounding Bengali syllables of my people. How deceptively vast is an infant's mind, an inner world that adults foolishly presume is limited merely to toys and toes. Psychological ferment paired with an unresponsive body led me to frequent obstinate crying spells. I still recall my family's general bewilderment at my distress. Yet happier memories crowd in as well. My mother's tender caresses and my first attempts at lisping phrases and taking toddling steps. These early triumphs, though usually quickly forgotten, form a natural foundation for self-confidence. My far-reaching memories are by no means unique. Many yogis are known to have retained their self-consciousness without interruption through the dramatic transitions to and from life and death. If human beings are strictly physical bodies, then the loss of the body indeed writes the final period to identity. But if the prophets across the millennia spoke the truth, humanity is essentially spiritual and incorporeal in nature. The persistent core of the human ego is only temporarily linked to sensory perception. Though unusual, clear memories of early infancy are not extraordinarily rare. Throughout my travels across numerous lands, I have listened to vivid early recollections directly from the lips of truthful men and women. I was born in the last decade of the 19th century and spent my first 8 years in Gorakhpur, my birthplace in the United Provinces of northeastern India. We were 8 children in total, 4 boys and 4 girls. I, Mukunda Lal Ghosh, was the second son and fourth child. Father and mother were Bengalis of the Kshatriya caste. Both were blessed with deeply saintly natures. Their mutual love, tranquil and dignified, was never expressed frivolously. This perfect parental harmony served as the serene anchor at the center of the swirling activity of 8 young lives. Father, Bhagpati Charan Ghosh, was kind, grave, and at times stern. Though we loved him dearly, we children maintained a respectful, reverent distance. An outstanding mathematician and logician, he was guided primarily by his intellect. Mother, on the other hand, was a queen of hearts who taught us purely through love. After her passing, Father revealed more of his inner tenderness, and I noticed that his gaze often seemed to transform into Mother's own. In Mother's presence, we had our first bittersweet introduction to the sacred scriptures. Stories from the Mahabharata and the Ramayana were resourcefully brought forward whenever discipline was required, ensuring that instruction and correction walked hand in hand. As a daily ritual of respect for Father, Mother would carefully dress us in the afternoons to welcome him home from work. He held a position equivalent to vice president at the Bengal Nagpur Railway, one of India's major railway enterprises. Because his work required travel, our family resided in several different cities throughout my childhood. Mother maintained an open hand toward those in need. Father was similarly generous, but his reverence for order and structure extended strictly to the family budget. Once, over the course of 2 weeks, mother spent more on feeding the poor than father's entire monthly income. All I ask, please, is that you keep your charitable giving within a reasonable limit, he remarked. Even the gentlest rebuke from her husband cut mother deeply. Without dropping the slightest hint of disagreement to us children, she promptly ordered a hackney carriage. Goodbye, I am leaving for my mother's house. The timeless ultimatum. We erupted into shocked lamentations. Fortunately, our maternal uncle arrived at that exact moment and whispered to father some wise counsel, garnered, no doubt, from the collective wisdom of the ages. After father offered a few conciliatory words, mother happily dismissed the carriage. Thus ended the only dispute I ever witnessed between my parents. Though I do recall one characteristic discussion. Please give me 10 rupees for a destitute woman who has just arrived at the house, mother said, her persuasive smile carrying its own gentle power. Why 10 rupees? One is plenty, father replied, offering his reasoning. When my father and grandparents passed away suddenly, I tasted real poverty for the first time. My only breakfast before walking miles to school was a single small banana. Later at university, I was in such dire need that I petitioned a wealthy judge for aid of just 1 rupee per month. He refused, pointing out that even a single rupee is significant. How bitterly you still remember being denied that 1 rupee. Mother's heart possessed an instant intuitive logic. Do you want this poor woman to also remember with pain your refusal of the 10 rupees she desperately needs right now? You win. With the timeless gesture of a defeated husband, he reached for his wallet. Here is a 10 rupee note. Give it to her with my genuine goodwill. Father naturally tended to say no to any new proposal at first. His initial caution towards the unknown woman who had so easily won mother's sympathy was typical of his measured approach. This resistance to immediate acceptance, much like the analytical mindset often seen in the West, was simply his way of honoring the principle of due reflection. In the end, I always found father completely fair and balanced in his decisions. Whenever I backed my own numerous requests with one or two solid arguments, he invariably brought the desired goal within my reach, whether it was a vacation trip or a new motorcycle. Father was a strict disciplinarian with his children during our early years, but his attitude toward himself was truly austere. He never visited the theater, for instance, choosing instead to seek recreation in spiritual practices and in reading the Bhagavad Gita. Shunning all forms of luxury, he would cling to a single pair of shoes until they were completely worn out. Even after his sons bought automobiles when they came into popular use, father remained entirely content taking the trolley car for his daily commute to the office. The accumulation of wealth for the sake of power was alien to his nature. On one occasion, after helping organize the Calcutta Urban Bank, he refused to profit personally by holding any of its shares. He had simply wished to perform a civic duty in his spare time. Several years after father retired on a pension, an English accountant arrived to audit the books of the Bengal Nagpur Railway Company. To his complete astonishment, the investigator discovered that father had never applied for his overdue bonuses. He did the work of 3 men, the accountant reported to the company. He is owed 125,000 rupees in back compensation. The company officials presented father with a check for the full amount. He thought so little of the matter that he neglected to even mention it to the family. It was only much later that my youngest brother Bishnu noticed the massive deposit on a bank statement and questioned him about it. "Why be elated by material gain?" father replied. "One who strives for even-mindedness is neither overjoyed by gain nor cast down by loss. He knows that man arrives in this world penniless and departs without a single rupee." Early in their married life, my parents became disciples of a great master, Lahiri Mahashay of Benares. This connection only strengthened father's naturally ascetical temperament. Mother once made a remarkable admission to my eldest sister Roma. "Your father and I live together as husband and wife only once a year, solely for the purpose of having children." Father first learned of Lahiri Mahashay through Abhinash Babu, an employee in the Gorakhpur office of the Bengal Nagpur Railway. Abhinash used to captivate my young ears with fascinating tales of Indian saints, invariably concluding with a tribute to the supreme glories of his own Guru. "Did you ever hear the extraordinary circumstances under which your father became a disciple of Lahiri Mahashay?" It was on a lazy summer afternoon, as Abhinash and I sat together in the courtyard of my home, that he posed this intriguing question. I shook my head, smiling in eager anticipation. "Years ago, before you were born, I asked my superior officer, your father, for a week's leave from my duties in Gorakhpur so I could visit my guru in Benares," Abhinash told me. Your father scoffed at my plan. "Are you planning to become a religious fanatic?" he asked. "Focus on your office work if you want to get ahead." Walking home sadly along a woodland path that afternoon, I met your father traveling in a palanquin. He dismissed his servants and carriage, stepping down to walk beside me. Trying to comfort me, he began listing the advantages of striving for worldly success, but I listened listlessly. Inwardly, my heart kept repeating, "Lahiri Mahashay, I cannot live without seeing you." Our path brought us to the edge of a quiet field where the late afternoon sun bathed the tall, swaying wild grass in golden light. We paused to admire the view. Suddenly, right there in the field, just a few yards away from us, the form of my great guru appeared. "Bhagavati, you are far too hard on your employee." His voice rang out clearly in our astonished ears. Then, as mysteriously as he had appeared, he vanished. I fell to my knees exclaiming, "Lahiri Mahashay, Lahiri Mahashay." Your father stood rooted to the spot, completely speechless with awe. "Abhinash," he said at last, "not only do I grant you leave, but I am taking leave myself to depart for Benares tomorrow. I must meet this great Lahiri Mahashay who can materialize at will to intercede on your behalf. I will take my wife and ask the Master to initiate us into his spiritual path. Will you guide us to him?" Of course! Joy flooded my heart at this miraculous answer to my prayer and the sudden wonderful turn of events. The next evening, your parents and I boarded the train for Benares. The following day, we took a horse-drawn carriage and then navigated on foot through narrow alleys to reach my guru's secluded home. Entering his small parlor, we bowed deeply before the master, who sat in his customary lotus posture. He blinked his piercing eyes and fixed his gaze directly on your father. "Bhagavati, you are far too hard on your employee." His words were identical to those he had uttered 2 days earlier in the Gorakhpur field. He added softly, "I am glad you permitted Abhinash to visit me and that you and your wife have accompanied him." To their immense joy, he initiated your parents into the sacred practice of Kriya Yoga. Your father and I, as brother disciples, have remained close friends ever since that unforgettable vision. Lahiri Mahasaya took a profound interest in your upcoming birth as well. Your life is destined to be deeply intertwined with his own, for a master's blessing never fails. Lahiri Mahasaya departed this world shortly after I entered it. His portrait, set in an ornate frame, always graced our family altar in every city to which father was transferred for work. Many a morning and evening, mother and I would meditate before this improvised shrine, offering blossoms dipped in fragrant sandalwood paste. With sweet frankincense, myrrh, and our combined devotion, we honored the divine consciousness that found full expression in Lahiri Mahasaya. That picture exerted a profound influence over my life. As I grew older, the presence of the Master grew within me. During meditation, I would often see his image emerge from its small frame, take living form, and sit directly before me. Yet, whenever I reached out to touch the feet of his luminous body, it would revert back into the portrait. As my childhood gave way to boyhood, Lahiri Mahasaya transformed in my mind from a static image confined to a frame into a vibrant, living, and illuminating presence. I turned to him frequently in moments of hardship or confusion, finding comforting guidance deep within. At first, I grieved that he was no longer physically alive. But as I began to discover his hidden omnipresence, my sorrow vanished. He had often written to disciples who were overly anxious to see him in person. "Why travel to view my flesh and bones when I am always within reach of your spiritual sight?" When I was about 8 years old, I was blessed with a miraculous healing through a photograph of Lahiri Mahasaya. This experience deepened my love for him immeasurably. While staying at our family estate in Ichapur, Bengal, I was stricken with Asiatic cholera. My life hung in the balance, and the doctors were utterly helpless. Standing at my bedside, mother frantically gestured toward Lahiri Mahasaya's picture hanging on the wall above my head. "Bow to him in your heart," she pleaded, knowing I was far too weak even to raise my hands in reverence. "If you truly offer him your devotion and bow inwardly, your life will be spared." I gazed at his photograph and instantly saw a blinding radiance envelop my body and the entire room. My nausea and other unbearable symptoms vanished in an instant. I was completely cured. Feeling an immediate surge of strength, I bent forward to touch Mother's feet in deep gratitude for her boundless faith in her Guru. Mother pressed her forehead repeatedly against the small picture. "O omnipresent Master," she cried, "I thank you that your light has healed my son." I realized then that she too had witnessed the brilliant blaze through which I was instantly saved from a disease that is usually fatal. That photograph remains one of my most cherished possessions. Given to Father by Lahiri Mahasaya himself, it carries a sacred vibration. The image itself has a miraculous origin, a story I learned from Father's brother disciple Kali Kumar Roy. It seems the Master had a strong aversion to being photographed. Over his objections, a group photo was once taken of him surrounded by a cluster of devotees, including Kalikumar Roy. The photographer was left in sheer disbelief when he developed the plate. While clear images of every disciple appeared, the center where Lahiri Mahasaya had been seated revealed nothing more than a blank space. The phenomenon became a subject of wide discussion. A certain photography student and expert named Gangadhar Babu boasted that the elusive master would not escape his lens. The next morning, as the Guru sat in lotus posture on a wooden bench backed by a screen, Gangadhar Babu arrived with his equipment. Taking every conceivable precaution for success, he eagerly exposed 12 plates. Yet on each one, he found only the outline of the wooden bench and the screen. Once again, the master's figure was entirely absent. Shaken to tears and stripped of his pride, Gangadhar Babu sought out his guru. Hours passed before Lahiri Mahasaya finally broke his silence with a profound observation. I am spirit. Can your camera capture the omnipresent invisible? I see now that it cannot, the photographer pleaded. But holy sir, I lovingly long for an image of the physical temple in which, to my limited vision, that spirit appears uniquely to dwell. Come back tomorrow morning then, the master replied. I will pose for you. The next day, the photographer focused his camera once more. This time, the sacred form was not cloaked in mysterious invisibility, and its image appeared sharp and clear on the plate. The master never posed for another photograph. At least I have never seen one. Lahiri Mahasaya's refined features carry a universal quality, making it difficult to discern his ethnicity. His deep bliss of divine communion is subtly revealed in a gentle, enigmatic smile. His eyes, half open to denote a nominal awareness of the outer world, are half closed as well. Completely detached from the world's fleeting attractions, he remained fully attuned at all times to the spiritual aspirations of every seeker who approached him for grace. Shortly after my healing through the power of the Guru's portrait, I experienced a life-changing spiritual vision. Sitting on my bed one morning, I fell into a deep reverie. What lies behind the darkness of closed eyes? The probing thought echoed powerfully within my mind. At once, a brilliant flash of light burst before my inner gaze. Holy forms of saints, seated in quiet meditation inside mountain caves, appeared like miniature motion pictures cast across the vast screen of radiance within my forehead. Who are you? I asked aloud. We are the Himalayan yogis, came the celestial reply. My heart thrilled with a joy that words can hardly express. Ah, I long to go to the Himalayas and become like you. The vision faded, but the silvery rays expanded outward in ever-widening circles into infinity. What is this wondrous glow? I am Ishvara, I am light, spoke a voice that sounded like distant murmuring thunder. I want to be one with you. As this divine ecstasy slowly receded, it left behind a permanent legacy of inspiration to seek God. He is eternal, ever new joy. That realization remained vividly with me long after the day of rapture had passed. Another early memory stands out vividly, quite literally, as I bear its mark to this day. My older sister Uma and I were sitting together early one morning beneath a neem tree in our Gorakhpur courtyard. She was helping me with a Bengali primer whenever I could tear my eyes away from the nearby parrots feeding on ripe margosa fruit. Complaining of a boil on her leg, Uma brought out a jar of ointment. Seeing this, I smeared a dab of the salve onto my own forearm. "Why are you putting medicine on a healthy arm?" she asked. "Well, sis, I feel like I'm going to get a boil tomorrow. I'm just testing your ointment on the exact spot where it's going to appear." "You little liar." "Sis, don't call me a liar until you see what happens tomorrow morning." Uma was unimpressed and repeated her taunt 3 times. A quiet, firm resolve settled into my voice as I answered her slowly. "By the sheer power of my will, I tell you that tomorrow I will have a large boil right here on my arm, and yours will swell to twice its size." When morning came, a substantial boil had developed on the exact spot I had indicated, while the size of Uma's boil had doubled. With a shriek, my sister ran to mother. "Mukunda has turned into a sorcerer." Gravely, mother instructed me never to use the power of words to cause harm, guidance I have remembered and honored ever since. My boil eventually required minor surgery, leaving a distinct scar from the doctor's incision that remains visible today. On my right forearm, it serves as a constant reminder of the raw power contained within human speech. Those simple, seemingly harmless words spoken to Uma, uttered with deep concentration, carried enough hidden force to explode like miniature bombs and produce tangible, if painful, results. I realized later that this explosive vibrational power of speech could instead be directed wisely to free one's life from difficulties, operating constructively without leaving scars or regret. Later, our family relocated to Lahore in the Punjab. There, I acquired an image of the Divine Mother in the form of the goddess Kali, which sanctified a small informal shrine on our home balcony. An unshakable conviction took root in me that any prayer uttered in that sacred spot would be granted. Standing there with Uma one day, I watched 2 kites flying over the rooftops across our narrow lane. "Why are you so quiet?" Uma asked, nudging me. "I was just thinking how wonderful it is that Divine Mother gives me whatever I ask for." "I suppose she'd give you those 2 kites then?" my sister laughed. "Why not?" I replied, beginning silent prayers to capture them. In India, kite matches are played with strings coated in glue and crushed glass, each player trying to sever the other's line. Once freed, a drifting kite floats over the roofs, sparking a fun chase to catch it. Since Uma and I were standing on a high balcony, it seemed virtually impossible for a loose kite to fall directly to us. The dangling string would naturally catch on the surrounding rooftops. Across the lane, the match reached its climax. One line was severed, and the freed kite immediately drifted in my direction. As the breeze suddenly died down, the kite hovered momentarily and hung stationary just long enough for its string to entangle firmly in a cactus plant atop the opposite roof. It created a perfect loop within my reach. I grabbed it and handed the trophy to Uma. "That was just a freak accident, not an answer to your prayer," she said, her dark eyes showing far more astonishment than her words let on. "If the second kite comes to you, then I'll believe it." I deepened my prayers with intense focus. A sudden sharp tug by the other player caused his line to snap abruptly. The second kite danced through the wind, heading straight toward me. My reliable helper, the cactus plant, once again caught the trailing string in a neat loop, allowing me to grasp it easily. I presented the second prize to Uma. "Divine Mother really does listen to you," she exclaimed. "This is far too uncanny for me." With that, my sister bolted away like a startled fawn.